This morning, we're going to break down some of my favorite pieces of advice from this podcast I recently listened to. It was a long one. It was like 3 hours long, but it was all about sleep. And I've really been trying to improve my sleep. So I'm just going to go over some of my favorite takeaways. And additionally, we're going to stick around till the end because we're going to do this morningness-eveningness quiz, like an MEQ, just so we have better times of what time we should go to bed, what time we should wake up. I know everyone's a little bit different. So we're going to break all of these down and some additional acronyms and other tools that I liked, just the best meat and potatoes from this. And this was off of Andrew Huberman's podcast, so you can go check it out. I left a link for this one in the description below. Also, there's a link in the description below for the quiz that you'll see that I take throughout the show. Enjoy the episode, folks. It's going to be a good one. Cheers. Good morning, everyone. And welcome back to another episode of the Talk to Tanner Morning Show, where we go over tips, tricks, ideas, and exercises to help make you the absolute best person you can be, not only for yourself, but for the people you love and care about most. This morning, we are going to be breaking down sleep. Let's go ahead and get a little bit of a better angle here. Awesome. How's everyone doing? Were we able to get our sleep? I actually, over the weekend, had a fun traveling weekend, so was out of the office yesterday on Monday, but we're getting right back to it. Let me go ahead and give this a little bit of a turn. Good morning. I'm still my own producer, so. All right. Well, sleeping can sometimes feel like I've been sleeping enough hours, but I still feel very tired. It turns out there's a number of acronyms that really help us better understand when we're having quality sleep and when we're not. And there's specifically one acronym that I really like that we're going to be breaking down today. And this is the QQRT. QQRT. So Matthew Walker did an awesome job of breaking down the different letters within this acronym. So we're going to dive right into it. So the first Q on here would be quantity. Quantity. So this is, you can essentially just think like how much. And the normal recommendation still by most offices, most doctors, and most people in this professional space is 7 to 9 hours. 7 to 9 hours. So, and there's a difference between being in bed and actually sleeping. This is something that we need to check into, or something that I've been trying to check into. How often am I waking up in the middle of the night? And that leads us into our next one, which is quality. Our second Q on here is quality. So the first one is quantity. Are you getting enough sleep from a quantity perspective? And still the recommendation is 7 to 9 hours. So 7 to 9 hours still on the quantity front. The quality, these cues are tripping me up a little bit, so sorry if I slur my words this morning, folks. The quality side of it would just, I think the best out of what, there's a lot of scientific terms thrown around and kind of different studies and this and that, but I think from a quality is how often you get up. How often you get up. Are you getting up into the middle of the night multiple times to go to the bathroom? Or are you getting up in the middle of the night and then you can't go back to sleep? These are different things, that little tests that we can check to see if we're getting the right quality of sleep, is how often we're getting up in the middle of the night. Awesome. So quality. Next one is the R. And I keep messing this up. I have it in my head. It's just the word consistency, but it's an R word. I am regularity. Oh my gosh. I don't know why. There's some things that you just forget and you can't remember, but okay. Regularity. So we've talked about on the show that when it comes to sleep, going to bed at the same time and getting up at the same time, day in and day out, is a huge factor in getting high quality sleep and feeling more rested, having more energy. So for regularity, this is just think of consistency. Consistency. Just go to bed at the same time and get up at the same time for at least 2 weeks. Tell me how you feel. I just had a really fun trip with a lot of my friends and I stayed up really, really late. And then the next day, I felt pretty terrible. And go figure, it leads in the next day and stuff like that. But to get the real benefits, I think the consistency, you got to give the test at least 2 weeks. And yes, this includes weekends. Yes, this includes weekends, unfortunately, folks. But if it's worth doing one day, I think it's worth doing every day. If you watch the episode and you're looking into it and you see like blood pressure, cholesterol, just how your immune system functions, it'll blow your mind on like what sleep's actually doing for us. And there's a reason why it takes up a third of our lives, if not even, probably even a little bit more, but if it's done properly. So regularity, that would be the consistency piece. And I highly recommend doing this for 2 weeks straight to really know if you're at the right one. And that leads us to our last one, the T in the QQRT model for sleep. And that would be timing. And my takeaway from this was just, so there's different, everyone's a little different. Some people are extreme morning people. Some people are evening people, night owls, as we may call them. And to help get clarity with this, we're going to take an MEQ test. MEQ test. So we're going to jump over and share a screen, and we're going to jump into the test right now, actually. So let's go ahead and timing. And then we just want to figure out what, if we're choosing, if you didn't have an alarm clock, what time would you want to get up? If you didn't have responsibility, what time would you want to go to bed? We're trying to answer these questions and then match our lifestyle to this to try and get the best quality sleep. Awesome. All right. How's everyone doing this morning? Feeling good? Feeling rested? Did we get some good sleep last night? Were we able to feel a little rested today? Well, let's go ahead and jump into, I'm going to share my screen on this for this test. This is, again, an MEQ test, a Morningness-Eveningness Questionnaire. Okay. Let me go ahead and kick myself over to the corner so you guys can see a little bit better. All right. Sweet. All right. First question we have is, what time would you get up if you were entirely free to plan your day? If you were entirely free to plan your day, what time would you get up? I would probably get up I honestly like getting up at 6:30. That's when I feel really good. When I go to bed at like 9:30 and I get up at 6:30, that's kind of my jam. So we'll go ahead and click that one. What time would you go to bed if you were entirely free to plan your evening? Yeah, probably like 9 to 10. If there is a specific time at which you have to get up in the morning, to what extent do you depend on being woken up by an alarm clock? I'm actually not super dependent because my girlfriend, she's a teacher and she gets up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I get up more along the lines of 6:37 personally, but I'm already kind of but I don't really need an alarm clock to do that. So I would say slightly dependent personally. I think in the past I was always really dependent, but not very much lately. Okay. How easily do you find it to get up in the morning when you are not woken up unexpectedly? I'd say not very easy. How alert do you feel during the first half hour after you wake up in the morning? I'd say fairly alert. How hungry do you feel during the first half hour after you wake up in the morning? I'm, I, I'm not really that hungry when I first get up in the morning personally. During the first half hour after you wake up in the morning, how tired do you feel? Uh, I've been feeling fairly tired. Well, because of the vacation and stuff like that, I think I was more so tired from that. Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for tuning in to the show this morning, checking over at our comments. Awesome. Staying awake just to watch this. Awesome. All right. If you have no commitments the next day, what time would you go to bed compared to your usual bedtime? If you have no commitments the next day, what time would you go to bed compared to your usual bedtime? I really like going to bed around like 9:30, 10 o'clock personally. I'd say less than an hour later. Have you have decided to engage in some physical exercise? A friend suggests that you do this for 1 hour twice a week, and the best time for him is between 7 and 8 a.m. Bearing in mind nothing but your own internal clock, how do you think you would perform? I'd be in good form. I'd be ready to rock and roll. At what time of day do you feel you become tired as a result of need for sleep? At what time of day do you feel you become tired as a result of need for sleep? Oh yeah, for sure. Like I'm getting pretty tired. I'm really tired from around 9 o'clock. If you want to be at your peak performance for a test that you know is going to be mentally exhausting and will last for 2 hours, you are entirely free to plan your day. Consider only your own internal clock. Which one of the four testing times would you choose? I always loved taking exams early in the morning just to get it the heck out of the way personally. But I think from a performance standpoint, I'd probably do better at the 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. I would want to take it from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. If you got into bed at 11 p.m., how tired would you be? I'd be pretty tired. I'd be very tired. For some reason, you have gotten to bed several hours later than usual, but there's no need to get up at any particular time the next morning. Which one of the following are you most likely to do? We'll wake up at a usual time, but will not fall back asleep. We'll wake up at the usual time and doze thereafter. We'll wake up at a usual time, but fall asleep again. We'll not wake up. Yeah. I'll wake up at the time I'm supposed to, and then kind of pass back out. One night you have to remain awake between 4 to 6 a.m. in order to carry out a night watch. You have no commitments the next day. Which one of the alternatives will suit you best? Would not go to bed until night watch was over. You would take a good sleep before and nap after. Would sleep only before watch. I mean, it depends. Yeah, if I got to go to bed and I had no commitments, I would probably rock and roll for the day. I might take a nap after. Yeah, I'll be curious to. I haven't. They didn't talk much at all on that show and my other research on naps. And personally, for naps, anything like 10, more than 10, 15 minutes it just makes me even more tired. So short naps are the only way that I really take naps anymore. You have to do 2 hours of hard physical work. You are entirely free to plan your day and considering only your own internal clock. Which one of the following times would you choose? 2 hours of hard physical work. Yeah, 11 and 1 sounds fun. You have decided to engage in hard physical exercise. A friend suggests that you do this for 1 hour twice a week, and the best time for him is between 10 and 11 p.m., bearing in mind nothing else but your own internal clock. How well? Yeah, I would find it very difficult. Lifting at 10 o'clock at night? That sounds terrible. Suppose that you can choose your own work hours. Assume that you worked a 5-hour day, including breakfast, and that your job was interesting and paid by results. Which 5 consecutive hours would you select? 5 hours starting between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. Yeah, that sounds good. At what time of the day do you think that you reach your feeling best peak? Probably 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. One hears about morning and evening types of people. Which one of these types do you consider yourself to be? Definitely a morning type, rather more morning type than an evening type, rather more an evening type. I would say definitely a morning type. Okay, let's see our moderate morning. It's kind of what I assumed would happen for me. But yeah, so you can take this test. There is let's zoom out and see if it gives us like results or something. So it just gives us moderate morning, and I believe this is the time frame, if I'm correct, that you do best from getting up around like 6:30, 7 a.m. Let me zoom back in so you guys can see it. Moderate morning. So I think, to my knowledge, this is getting up around 6:30. Okay, it's right over here. 6:30 to 7:45 a.m. getting up and going to bed between 9 and 10 p.m. is the moderate morning. So I'm just going to try and aim within this. Maybe try and aim for like 6 o'clock. Aim for like 9:30, because I personally like to get around 8.5, 9 hours, if possible, of like real sleeping time. Let me go ahead and kick off this quiz. It's probably a little harder to see. Okay. So let's go over to the board. Just jot down a couple notes as we're wrapping up for the show this morning. Good morning. Good morning. Maybe everyone's grabbing your coffee. We're doing a little sleep tip. So I personally like to aim for this 8.5 to 9 hours. That's what works best for me. When I've been really checking in with myself, when do I feel good and when do I feel great? It's when I, on a quantity standpoint, do personally around 8.5 to 9 hours. A quality standpoint is how often do you get up in the night? I think I personally get up twice. So I get up twice a night usually, and it's usually because I have to pee. And if I think something that would probably help me is if I drank more water in the first half of the day. Like this morning, I really have been slamming water. I drank my Athletic Greens, shout out to AG1. And also, I've been just pounding down the salt water concoction that I make that's super healthy. So drinking a ton of water on the first half of the day, and then not as much water, and maybe just a cup, like a nice cup of tea, like an hour before bed, trying to stick with that so it doesn't make me pee as much. So that would be the quality standpoint. How often are we getting up in the night? Then the third one was regularity. So I've gone on 2 fun vacations. Between the last 3 weeks, we've went on 2 fun vacations, and my sleep was all jacked up. I was with a bunch of friends. I'm not going to lie to you. I drank quite a bit of beer, fan every now and again. So my sleep has been really inconsistent. And I think this has been the biggest one for me, is just the consistency of staying on track. I think my hours are good, or my getting up in the night's not too bad, but I think just doing it day in and day out, including the weekends, has been a little jacked up because one, I'm a big sports fan, and a lot of my friends are sports fans. And these things go late into the night sometimes. So, or if you're going out and you're experiencing a city at night, yes, and this and that. And so staying up late for that. But the consistency, I think, is what I personally need the most improvement on, and to have fun and to do things with friends and stuff, it can be really tough. But all right, and the last one was the MEQ quiz. And for me, that was, I scored for a moderate morning. There's a lot of other tests on there. I'm sure there's different ones, but for me, I scored a moderate morning, and this is, you can think of like a 6 a.m. to like a 10 p.m. person. That's where I score. But and living and sleeping in alignment with that time frame, Dr. Walker talked about how that really helps with quality of sleep. So this was the QQRT method off of that podcast I was talking about with Matthew Walker, huge advocate for sleep, leading in the space. But I think this is a superpower that we all have access to, getting higher quality of sleep, whether it's the stuff about the heart and cardiovascular stuff really resonated with me, because I know I get anxiety and I like worry about my blood pressure and stuff like that. And there's not a better tool or better medicine for calming down your cardiovascular system like getting deep quality sleep. So the studies are in, the proof is there. So I'm all for sleep, whether it's my immune system, my cardiovascular, everything tied in with the human body. There's a reason why we give like over a third of our time on this planet to sleeping, because it really does help reboot our systems, helps with learning and memory and performance and so many other things. So one of those things that are non-negotiable for me. I know everyone's at a different chapter in their life, but maybe that's a motivator and a goal to be happier and healthier, maybe to get a different job, or to maybe not watch screens or a bunch of TV right before bed, and maybe picking up a paperback book or writing in a notebook or something to wind down for the day. But there's a number of things that can help with sleep, and I think it's a super important topic. I get jazzed up about it. I'm very grateful for being a good sound sleeper, but I know not everyone is. And we got to do the tips and tricks, the working out, physical exercise, checking in with these, and just doing our own research to try and make the best of it. But that's all I have for today. I got to bounce. I got a couple coaching sessions. Tuesdays are my busier days. But I love you all. You guys have an incredible, incredible day. In case you need to hear it, I love you. Make sure to get your good quality sleep, and I'll check you out on the next episode of the Talk to Your Morning Show, bright and early tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. All right, friends. If you like this episode, share it with one of your friends. Give it a like, comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'd mean the world to me. But cheers, friends. I'll see you on the next personal development topic. Love you all. Peace. Oot.